Hey YouTube, we're back with this 2017 Cadillac XT5, and today's video is going to be a little bit different than most of my videos. This is not going to be a complete step-by-step instructional video, although that may come down the road. But for now, this is going to be more like a reference video on some information. And actually, between this video and another video that I have, you could probably do this job pretty easily. So what we're going to be talking about is this piece of trim right here. And so I had planned on replacing this piece of trim. Why have I planned on replacing this piece of trim? Well, it's probably hard to tell from this shot. There is some bubbling in the chrome right here. And so it's really hard to tell, but my concern was it would get worse over time. And so there's a couple different versions of this piece of trim, or at least a couple. The real common one that you can find on eBay all day long for like 40 bucks, 50 bucks is going to be on the other three trim styles. The Platinum has its own version, and it has more holes down here on the bottom, which I'll show you here in a minute why that is. So it's kind of tough to find these unless you're willing to pay new. And new, it's quite expensive because it comes with the cameras and everything else. So I jumped at a chance when I found one on eBay that was reasonable. And I had emailed him ahead of time to ask about the condition, and it sounded great. But long story short, it's not so great, and it's going to just end up going back. But what I wanted to do was take advantage of having that piece here while I have it, since I may not have another one anytime soon. And let's take a look at the back of it and take a look at how everything connects and what's there. And if you take that information along with my other video, which I'll link to up in the corner in a minute, that shows how to get the hatch apart, it should be a fairly easy job. And maybe down the road we'll have one video that has everything together. But I just wanted to document what I had, if nothing else than for my own information down the road. Alright, so here is the replacement piece of trim, and at a glance it looks really good. The pictures in the listing were pretty low resolution, so it was hard to tell any details. So that's why I'd emailed them ahead of time and said, hey, is there any damage or anything I need to know about, any bubbling, any crack? No, it's in great condition. So when it came in, instead of being a box, it was actually wrapped in plastic wrap, like saran wrap, and then wrapped in bubble wrap and just taped up, like it was just big bubble wrap thing. I didn't even really realize you could just ship something without putting it in a box like that, but what do I know? And as soon as I got the bubble wrap off and pulled the plastic wrap off, I immediately noticed a smoke smell, like a fire smell, which made me suspect that maybe the car was involved in a fire. That in of itself to me really doesn't matter because it's an outside piece of trim. You're not going to really be smelling it, and I probably wouldn't have noticed it if it hadn't been all wrapped up. But the problem is that all the chrome here, I thought it was just dirty, but it has some sort of weird haze to it and like pitting and that kind of thing, and I cleaned it and it didn't really get any better. I tried some polish on one side and it sort of got, and I finally said, you know what, even though this was a good deal, it was still too much to pay to have to go through this. So it's going to go back. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So you can sort of see how it's got this kind of weird haze. And like I said, it looked like dirt initially, but yeah, it's just something. I'm guessing the vehicle is in a fire, and so I'm guessing it's something from all the smoke that was billowing out. I don't know. Anyway, enough about that. You're not here for that. Let's get to talking about this this piece of trim. All right, so first of all, on the underside of the trim here, this is what faces the ground. I said earlier that on the Platinum it's different. On all the other trims, there's just two holes. There's one larger one in the middle, which I think is for the license plate light, like a single light, I believe, and the button to open the hatch. And then there's a smaller hole on one side for the single camera. And then on the Platinum here, you've got two license plate lights out here to the side, the button, and then the larger camera assembly in the center, because this trim level has two cameras, one for the backup camera, the normal backup camera, and then I believe the other one is for the mirror, the mirror on this vehicle. You can switch to a live feed at any point in time. So that's why it's a little harder to find this, and you want to be aware when you order one to make sure you're getting the right version, because it's definitely not going to work if you get one intended for a lower trim if you have a platinum or vice versa. All right, so now I've gonna do a quick overview of the back side here, and we'll get close up here in a minute, but just so you can get a general idea of what you are going to be fighting when you remove this. So there are 6 places where it looks like there's some sort of a bolt or screw. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 little brass receptacles. So 2 that would face towards the inside of the hatch, and then so that would be here and on the very end. So these would face towards the inner trim on the hatch, and or towards the front of the vehicle might be a better way to say it. And then you've got 4 here in the middle that face upwards. So these would face the roof of the vehicle when the hatch is closed. And so I assume there's some sort of cavity here that you could get to these. I'm not sure what kind of screws or bolts are there, but that's going to be the main thing, is getting those 6 out. And then also worth noting, there is a plastic clip here and a plastic clip over there. So you want to be careful about, breaking those off. So since we have stuff that's facing this way and stuff that's facing this way, to me, I would say that after you get all the clips out, I would guess that from the outside, you would want to kind of rock this piece down in the middle first and then kind of pull it out on the sides carefully. Just a guess, since I haven't done it yet. All right, so here's a close-up of one of the sides of the piece of trim. So here you can see one of these little brass receptacles for some sort of a bolt, and then the plastic clip, which of course there's only one of those on each side. So I'm just going to do a real quick close-up of everything. So and then we'll continue on. So we're starting here at what would be the passenger side. There's part of the wiring harness that would come out of the body. And if you look close, you can see one of the license plate bulbs. And there's the button to open the hatch, the camera assembly. Notice little brass things for the bolts pointing up. There's the other license plate light, more of the wiring harness. And now we're back over to the other side. All right, so let's quickly talk about the wiring harnesses. There is some sort of a boot here where it snaps into the body to keep the water out. And then we have one connector here on the passenger side, I believe. So that's what that looks like. And then we also have this smaller harness, which appears to be a video connection. If this does go to the checklist, does go to one of the cameras. This looks like an analog connection to me. If I had to guess, because of the quality differences, I would say this goes to the regular backup camera, the one that you see on the screen when you go into reverse. And because the one that's built into the rear view mirror is a much higher quality image. And so that goes to this camera here, which is that one right there. So that's my guess is that camera is the regular backup camera, and then this one is for the rear view mirror, and probably helps with the 360-degree view stuff as well. And an interesting note here, we'll get into this in a second, this little thing in the front is actually a sprayer to clean the cameras, so that's pretty neat. So that's what I believe that connection to be for. Not 100% sure, just taking an educated guess. And so then this other And of course, we've got this all coming through a boot. And then this other thing here is for the sprayer. So it's actually a tube that connects to the windshield washer fluid stuff and sprays the cameras. So that's pretty neat. And so what I'm probably going to do, in addition to what we're doing here, is I will try to look and find as many part numbers for things and list them in the video description, because sometimes it's hard to see on the breakdowns what these specific parts are. In fact, on most of the breakdowns for this, everything comes together and it's hard to find part numbers for the specific parts. So I'll try to have a list there in the video description for you to check out. And let's just see if we can pop a few of these pieces out and see how they come out. So most of these pieces, the clips, of course, are on this side, and unlike conventional license plate bulb assemblies, it doesn't really look like it's designed to come out from the bottom without having access up here, at least not without damaging this. And these are interesting in that they're LED and they're sealed assemblies, so there doesn't appear to be a way to replace just the bulb. You're replacing the assembly. So this has got one of these little, let me get the camera better angled here. Sorry about that. This has got one of these little locking connectors that we pull out like that. Actually, you got to push down on that gray thing after you pull it out. So just like that. And there's a big clip over here that you pull out, and that comes out like that. And so that's what your license plate bulb assembly looks like if you ever had to replace it. And I'll put a part number in the description. I want to say these are probably the left and right. I'm not going to take the other one out because they appear to come out exactly the same connector. Let's see, do they have the same part number? Yes, both of these have the same part number, so same process for either of them. And of course, putting it in is the reverse of what we just did. We're going to slip it in this side first, snap it in, and don't forget to lock that back in place. Push that back in, and just like that. And so next up, it looks like the switch to open the hatch, it unplugs back here. So it looks like there's a little locking connector here. Yeah, takes a little work to get it out. Push a little tab here on the driver's side. Yep, actually, looks like you want to push tab on both sides. It's definitely trickier than the license plate lights. You kind of got to work it back and forth, and that comes out just like that. And see if we can find a part number and list that in the video description as well. And so obviously putting it back in, it's just gonna snap back in there, similar to the way we just took it out. That's it. And so I'm not going to take out the other light. Doesn't seem to be a point in that. But let's talk about this camera. Looks to me like both of the cameras and the sprayer, it's all one assembly. Probably comes together. I'll try to get a part number and verify that. But again, it looks like we've got some clips. And that just drops out like that. I won't fish all the cables out since I'm sending this back. But you can see we've got 3 different things that come out. We've got the water, the sprayer tube, and then camera cables. One of them goes here, like we talked about earlier, and the other cable actually plugs in over here, which actually is routed all the way back to this main harness. So that's kind of interesting there. And then obviously should be pretty self-explanatory, but that just snaps back in like that. Alrighty guys, that about does it for this kind of unconventional video. I apologize that it wasn't the full in-depth how to replace video, and like I said, that may come down the road if I can find one of these reasonable. And trust me, I wish that this was the one, but I just don't want to put this on my vehicle. So anyway, if you want to be alerted of if and when that video comes out and future XT5 videos, don't forget to subscribe. And we've also got videos on the second generation Cadillac SRX, and actually the first generation. I think there's a handful of videos on the first generation Cadillac SRX, and also our 2008 second generation Cadillac CTS. So be sure to check those out, and thanks for watching.